Hello and how's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest gaming news, rumors, and speculation. And today I have a fun adventure planned deep into speculation country, my friends. So deep into speculation country that we're going to be talking about Fallout 5, which means we're pretty deep in there. We're pretty deep, way up into the deep in there, which means we definitely need to have a healthy dose of that speculation salt, which is essentially jet mixed with some of the old-fashioned skooma just like Mama used to make, and she put you through school with that skooma hustle, so don't you dare judge Mama for doing what she had to do. But back to Fallout 5. Just because I'll be talking about a game that very well might not be released until a real-life apocalypse doesn't mean that this entire video will 100% be speculation-based, because most of the speculation will actually be based on actual potential foreshadowing straight from Bethesda themselves. As it's confirmed, the location for a sequel to a future Fallout game generally is always hinted towards in the previous one, so it's very likely that the answer to where Fallout 5 will take place already exists within a world of Fallout 4, waiting to be deciphered or discovered by a cunning wasteland wanderer, or one that took enough jet that they can basically see through time and space, just like Mama Murphy. We all love Mama Murphy. If you don't, there's something wrong with you, go away. Either way, let's start with confirming that Bethesda and the Todd Howard faction have indeed hinted towards the setting of future Fallout sequels within already existing games. In terms of Bethesda Game Studios specifically, they have released 3 Fallout games within the universe. Anything released before Fallout 3 was developed by a different studio, I believe Interplay, as Bethesda bought the rights to the Fallout franchise and began working on Fallout 3 right after The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, so essentially Fallout 3 was their first game in the Fallout franchise. So with that in mind, there should be evidence within Fallout 3 regarding where Fallout 4 was going to be set, and to a certain degree, there actually is. Within Fallout 3, Boston and the surrounding area known as the Commonwealth are all name-dropped by various NPCs within the game world, more than enough to be a coincidence in my opinion. Ishmael Asher, ruler of the Pit, mentions the Commonwealth specifically in Fallout 3's Pit DLC, stating that the Commonwealth should envy what they have accomplished in the Pit. To be honest though, probably not, seeing how the Pit was just one massive slave camp, basically. And on top of all this, Harkness, Dr. Zimmer, and Armitage all mention that they are specifically from the Commonwealth and the Boston area, so that alone makes the Commonwealth the most mentioned region within Fallout 3, other than the capital wasteland itself for the most part. However, if that still isn't enough evidence for you for some reason, you picky person, then just hang on, because it doesn't stop there. During the events of Broken Steel, Dr. Lee leaves the capital wasteland on a trip to your mom's house, or I mean to the Commonwealth, and then later on just straight up joins the Institute, which not only foreshadows the setting of Fallout 4 again, but at the same time foreshadows and even hints towards one of the most important factions within Fallout 4 itself. Also, Tobar, captain of the Duchess Gambit, also mentions having made several trips to the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth is again mentioned within a few terminals within a Point Lookout DLC as well, so clearly there is an abundance of important NPCs having made the trip specifically to the Commonwealth, and on top of that, the Commonwealth is also specifically mentioned numerous other times as well, making it obvious that Bethesda was most likely hinting towards one of the potential settings of Fallout 4, and what actually ended up being the actual setting of Fallout 4 itself. However, this is where the situation gets a lot more mysterious, as despite all this Fallout 3 foreshadowing to Boston and the Commonwealth area, Fallout 4 was supposedly almost set in an entire different area as well, an area that just happens to be mentioned more than once within Fallout 4 itself, so there's some strange connections here. I'd play the X-Files theme song if it wasn't like copyright protected and stuff. Within a no-clip Danny documentary, O'Dwyer documentary, a Bethesda developer stated that Fallout 4 was actually originally planned to take place in San Francisco and potentially even New York. I am unable to find the exact video and timestamp where this statement takes place, but judging by the community statements and the numerous gaming news articles out there that specifically mention this very statement, I think it's safe to assume this is all legit. And to be Daedra's advocate here for a second, I have to say it's pretty common for developers to experiment with different locations very early on in the game's development process, so Bethesda potentially having Fallout 4 maybe being set in San Francisco or New York and then choosing Boston instead isn't uncommon, is basically what I'm trying to say. However, if Bethesda was actively considering a Fallout game setting to be San Francisco or New York, then clearly they have confirmed interest in San Francisco or New York, clearly more interest than just some other random location. So those specific locations are held to a more potential possibility of where Fallout 5 can take place course, more so than any other random location just based upon all this, and Boston is arguably a completely different type of setting than San Francisco or New York, as clearly Bethesda chose Boston for a different reason and not as a replacement for a different type of huge major city location. So with that in mind, out of all the potential Fallout 5 location possibilities, the most likely location thus far based on Bethesda's own statements would be San Francisco, New York City, or some kind of large, dense urban environment. And that indeed is a unique setting for sure that we haven't seen 100% quite yet in a Fallout game. No doubt we've had the small-scale urban and downtown settings with a few blocks of like skyscrapers and stuff like that, most of which were in ruins and not explorable by the way, but we haven't had a huge, true major urban setting such as New York or potentially even San Francisco yet. Of course, one could easily insert any major city into the Mad Lib here and have yet another potential location such as Chicago or Seattle or Skullzi Town, but seeing how Bethesda specifically stated San Francisco and New York, I'd say those possibilities take precedent over any others. And before we close the video out, Bethesda actually hinted towards San Francisco within Fallout 4, just like they hinted towards the Commonwealth within Fallout 3, so this is kinda huge in my opinion. Just as numerous NPCs within a world of Fallout 3 claim to have originated from the Commonwealth, Kellogg within Fallout 4 claims to actually be from San Francisco. The Golden Gate Bridge is even shown within Kellogg's memories, and further down a speculation hole, the Atomic Command Pip-Boy game features San Francisco as well, and probably gonna mispronounce this here because I don't remember how it's pronounced, but the Huboologists within the Fallout 4 Nuka World DLC also claim to be from San Francisco. So while this all may just seem like it's like I just hit a bit too much of that speculation scuba salt here, there is 100% a pattern to be identified, and literally in every way that Fallout 4 hinted towards San Francisco as potentially being the setting of Fallout 5, Fallout 3 hinted towards the Commonwealth in those same exact ways in the same exact categories, with several NPCs bringing up the location in conversations, having said they're from that literal location themselves, and having one of the game's DLC mentioning the location as well within the game's world. So in legit every way that Fallout 3 hinted towards Boston as being the setting of Fallout 4, Fallout 4 hints towards San Francisco. Of course, this is all just a theory, a skooma theory. Thank you for watching. As always, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. Do you think that any of this is actually a sign for where Fallout 5 is going to take place? Let me know where you want Fallout 5 to take place down in the comments, and as always, if you enjoy the content, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and be sure to share the content, share the video, because that's one of the best ways for a community to help grow a channel and the community itself. And as always, please subscribe, because that's a great way to show your support and for YouTube to help push the content to new people. And finally, if you want to get a permanent feature video shout out and go above and beyond to support the channel and community, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Links for all this and more are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when the price of skooma goes up with every single video I do, I feel like.
It just works.